Every baby resembles God. Human life it's a mystery beyond us, really, that we're all made to God's image. And we can't even begin to understand what that means even. And yet that baby is that close to God. Of all the things that God made, that little baby just conceived is of more value to God than anything else.
In 1969, Oregon became one of the first states to legalize abortion. Oregon Senate Bill 193, passed in that year, allows abortions if the circumstances show that the infant is physically or mentally handicapped, conceived under duress, or poses a substantial risk to the mother's health. In 1973, the Supreme Court's ruling in Roe v. Wade expanded those circumstances to include all physical, emotional, psychological, and familial factors that would affect a woman's well-being when pregnant. Not long after Roe v. Wade legalized a woman's right to abortion, pro-life organizations such as National Right to Life and the American Life League came together with Catholic and Christian support to promote and protect the sacredness of life. Over the next couple of decades, the Church continued to stand up for and maintain its long-held position on the sanctity of life, a position rooted in the belief of what Pope John Paul II termed the incomparable worth of the human person in his 1995 encyclical, The Gospel of Life. But even backed by this national and international pro-life message of hope, Oregon's Catholic and Christian communities struggled with the challenge of supporting and promoting a pro-life viewpoint in a state that remains today as one of only 2 states with no protective life laws. The fight for life in Oregon became increasingly vital as statistics grew to reveal that an average of 32 abortions continue to be committed in Oregon every day, a number which daily adds to the heartbreaking 40 million abortions performed in the United States since Roe v. Wade. But the message of hope for life was never lost in Oregon as committed Catholics and other pro-lifers worked towards providing an alternative to abortion. One such Catholic was Salem resident and Catholic priest, Father Charles Taaffe.
In 1973, there was a lot of talk about permitting abortion. And I thought about how much pressure there would be on young teenage girls about having an abortion. So I thought about starting a home for unwed mothers. Before we could open the home, we had to be certified. And I ran into a great amount of trouble trying to get that certification. I was told that the home wasn't needed and that Oregon was gearing up to abortion. They said I was causing them a lot of harm by doing this, and they didn't want me to do it. They wanted me to stop right away. So it took a good year and a half of dealing with what they called then Children's Services Division. Finally, they said, we will certify you for 2 months. For homes similar to yours, we usually certify them for 2 years, 2 to 3 years. But you haven't got a chance of lasting more than 8 weeks, so we'll certify you for those 2 months. And that was a little over 32 years ago.
On St. Patrick's Day in March of 1975, the Father Taaffe Foundation opened their first home for pregnant teens, St. Bridget Home, in a rented house in Kaiser, Oregon.
We opened it as a non-denominational home, non-profit. We weren't sponsored by any part of government, whether it was city or county, state, federal, or by any organization, and no church. It was to be for 5 single pregnant teenage girls.
After 10 years of successful work with pregnant teens, the Father Taaffe Foundation was forced to move the St. Bridget home after their house was razed to make room for a parking lot. They would make one more difficult move before a lot of hard work, prayers, and donations led them to the purchase of a house in North Salem, now the permanent location of St. Bridget Home.
Let me just tell you about the type of girl who comes here. She comes from no family. Probably doesn't know who her father is. Her mother might be on drugs or in jail. Now, this is not every girl, but a good number of the girls. She might not have lived in a home, a house, maybe ever, or just as a small child. They probably have been on drugs. They might be 15 and an alcoholic, very addicted to different drugs. They've wandered from one place to another. They've been hurt, they've been abused, and they've been abandoned. And that's the girl that comes and knocks on our door and says, "Will you take me in?" Example of a very sad case with a girl. It was the middle of winter, a very rainy, cold, windy day. And I went and opened the door. And here was a young girl. She had long brown hair, and she was holding a baby, and the baby was wrapped in a towel, and she was wet. She'd been out in the rain. I remember telling her, "Now you think about it, whether you want to come here or not." We told her about the rules and so forth, and give us a call. Let us know what you think about it. And if we don't hear from you, we'll call you. So I said, "Would you give me your phone number?" So I don't have a phone number. Could I just come here? And I said, "How about noon? Could I come earlier?" And I said, "You tell me when you'd like to come." And she said, "As early as possible tomorrow morning." "How about 8 o'clock? I said, "Yes." 8 o'clock, I was at the house, and she came. And here was that girl again, wetter than ever, thin, dark circles under her eyes, and the baby looked the same way. We all saw her and brought her right in. And I said, "Where on earth have you been?" And she said, "I slept under the Center Street Bridge last night." Well, needless to say, we were all terribly upset. And the house mother took such good care of her. And the next time I saw her, which was probably 4 or 5 days, she looked so much better. She was still very thin, but there was no difficulty in breathing or standing. It didn't look like she was going to faint. And the baby had a little girl, the cutest little clothes on. I can still remember that little bonnet with a little red ribbon under it. And the girl had nice clothes, because we get donations of clothes, and she had nice clothes on. And there was still that gray pallor, but she had a smile. And said how happy she was. Just kept saying, "Thank you for taking me in. How long can I stay? Do I have to leave today?" And we said, "You stay here as long as you want. This is your home."
In 1990, the Father Taaffe Foundation acknowledged the ever-changing social conditions and worked towards providing a home which could accommodate those young teenage girls hoping to keep their babies after birth. So, in 1991, the Father Taaffe Foundation was able to open St. Monica Home, a home that could accommodate 4 teenage mothers and their babies.
And this home was an extension of St. Bridget Home. After the girls had their babies, they would be able to come here to St. Monica Home and live here with their children, finish their schooling, and be ready to go out into the world. We have room here for 4 girls and 4 babies. Sometimes we've had more children than that here, twins or maybe a brand new baby and a toddler. So this is a very busy household. I can think of one girl that came to our home with her child, and she was homeless. Her baby was only about 2 months old, actually. And she had been staying at Denny's. Her mother didn't want her at home, and she had no place to go. So her and her baby would go to Denny's and spend the night there, sitting there drinking coffee all night long. And we were very anxious to have her come and stay with us because she did truly need a good place to live. And she was still going to high school. She finally did come, moved in, stayed for 2 years, and really made that home her home. She taught herself to play the piano. Her baby grew up there, celebrated her first birthday, celebrated her second birthday. She finished her high school education, and now she's out living on her own. That is what we are all about, making it possible for these girls to be good mothers, finish their education, learn another way to live in our homes. And that girl absolutely took part in everything we had to offer her. And she's doing very, very well now.
After experiencing the profound success of both homes and faced with an ever-growing waiting list, the Father Taaffe Foundation worked towards opening a third home once it became financially feasible. As with most points in the history of the Father Taaffe Foundation, the grace of God working through human kindness and generosity made it possible for St. Teresa Home to open in 1998.
The real estate agent that I dealt with on this house, she was very close to death when she found this house and asked me if I wouldn't come and look at it. She pointed up and then turned that light on and said, I can just see the girls coming up and down here with their babies, and I certainly hope that I live long enough where I can come back here and see that. She loved that light up there. Every time I come into the home, I think of her and think of this whole situation of how she found this house and said this would be good for girls who have never had a home before. I was at someone's home having dinner one time with a group of people, and I was sitting at the dining room table, which I admired very much, and I was talking about it, saying how much I liked it. And the woman who owned all this said, it's yours, I'll give it to you for your home. And that's what this is right here, all of this.
All three homes operate with a consistent and underlying foundation of respect, love, and care, giving young mothers and their babies not just an address, but a true home. Central to supplying this foundation is the work of the head house mothers who carry Father Taaffe's message of hope and respect for life in their daily supervision and management of the homes.
The girls do have responsibilities in our home. They need to take part in things here to truly make it their home. They do their own laundry here. They do their children's laundry. They take turns cooking family-style meal in the evenings.
Dinner on the table by 6:30. Every night we have a family-style dinner.
The girls that live here have a curfew. On school nights, right at this time, it's 9 o'clock. They need to be home. Children need to be ready for bed because they are all very busy the next day. For a lot of girls, that is a challenge. They have not had any structure in their lives. They've been able to be out as late as they want, not go to school every day, skip school. Maybe their mom wanted them to stay home from school and watch other siblings. Maybe their mother wasn't even there every morning when they got up.
This is the first time they've come through a door and someone's not on drugs or drinking and can hit them, scream at them, and I know 3 of us have talked about when they walk in the door, first question, and they're late, and they know they're late. First question you ask, are you okay? What can we do to prevent this from happening? Instead of, get in here, however mom and dad or whoever reacted. And they're not used to it.
Jess comes home crying, and we're like, oh, what is wrong? What happened? And she'll say, I'm so glad I'm home. We're glad you're home too. What happened? And she'll tell us about the fight she got into with mom, and the total dysfunction, where it's to the point where the longer the girls stay in their homes, the more they have to compare the potential they actually have. And the comparison is so strong that they can have a voice and say, no, you're not going to know that big word in their life. They've never been able to say no. And and so when they come home and they're glad to be home even though they're crying, and you find out
because they know it's safe, that they can be that person and let that show. The homes provide a neutral territory because they know when they come into that home that it's supposed to be a peaceful, safe place for these girls to be, and it's their home. So I mean, they tend to have more communication than the yelling and the accusing, and it's a new start for them to go forward and hear each other.
Father Taaffe whole life revolves around or is dedicated to life, human life, and the respect of human life. And narrow that down, that's a huge category. This is what Father does to show that. He provides beautiful, comfortable homes. They're outstanding employees. Everything is offered here for that needy teenager.
To be able to have Father speak with all of us when the head house mothers call our meetings, it makes a big difference, I think, in their overall view. And like you said, you can get involved in the day-to-day workings of the house, and every once in a while you need that reminder. Now, this is the reason I'm here. This is the reason I continue. And it's through listening to what he talks about life. It makes you want to do more.
If you're touched, you go to go to get your taxes done. You work for the Father Taaffe Foundation. We adopted a baby there 30 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You go to the bank. Oh, you work for Father Taaffe. He married us 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So you're just awesome, Father. It's always said, but what you and Susan do, nobody could ever fill either one of your shoes.
No. Thanks. So 32 years of caring for life, just coming from one person, coming from first one home and then two homes, and now we have 3 homes. That's pretty amazing to think how widespread that has gone. That message of life and respect for life and trying to uplift everybody.
I'm just fortunate to be in this situation. I am just very fortunate to do it. I had no idea when I was ordained that I'd be doing work like this. I didn't know. It just sort of developed. I'm very, very fortunate to do something I love so much.
There can be no doubt of the life-changing and positive impact the Father Taaffe Foundation has had on the lives of the mothers and babies for whom it has worked so hard to provide homes. After over 30 years of providing an alternative to abortion, the Father Taaffe Foundation has saved and changed the lives of over 1,000 babies and 1,000 mothers. The Father Taaffe Foundation plans to continue their work